is a morning of oops. Because I forgot to tell the lector that she should read the first reading, the one to Timothy instead of the one to Titus, because guess what I'm talking about. So you've got the copy of the writing, the letter to Timothy there in front of you. You can follow along what I'm going to say, I think. As Father mentioned, today we celebrate the feast of Timothy and Titus. They were both converts to the faith. Timothy had a Jewish mother and a pagan father. Titus was a pagan, born a pagan, but they both converted. They both became companions and co-workers with St. Paul. Both of them worked with St. Paul in Corinth, and then they were both later made bishops in different places, Timothy in Ephesus and Titus in Crete. But the selection of Timothy and Titus as successors to the apostles meant that the apostles believed that the church's continuing presence in the world was crucial to make the truth and grace of Christ present for later generations. And so the church's mission goes on today, gathered around those successors to the apostles that are among us today. But in that letter to Timothy that we should have heard this morning, St. Paul makes 3 points to the young bishop, Timothy, that I think apply to all of us, and which I think we can all take to heart. First of all, he calls on Timothy to stir into flame that gift of grace that is bestowed on him. And I think that should prompt each of us to ask ourselves whether or not we are developing our full potential as followers of Jesus Christ, or whether we're simply doing the minimum. You know, if we dare to go beyond what is required, we will find out that the grace given to us in the sacraments can become powerfully active. And then secondly, St. Paul reminds Timothy that the Spirit he received is one that makes us strong, loving, and wise. And that should be the goal of every one of us who calls ourselves Christian. Whether we are clergy or lay, we need to become strong, loving, and wise in our decisions and our actions. But that strength, love, and wisdom is only born in prayer. And then finally, St. Paul tells Timothy to bear his share of the hardship which the gospel entails. You know, we all have a portion of the work of spreading the gospel. And when we try to bring the gospel into our workplace or our business or school, and especially into our family, there can be resistance. And that shows just how deeply the world still needs a Redeemer. But St. Paul's advice to Timothy is powerful advice to all of us. I think to try and activate the graces we are given, to become strong, loving, and wise through prayer, and then to bear the share of the hard work that the gospel entails. The narrative in today's gospel sounds as if Jesus is denying his own family. But the point of the narrative is in Jesus' pronouncement that his true family includes all who do the will of God. The New Testament writers stress the unity that we have in Christ. It's a unity based on faith. It's a unity that transcends flesh and blood. It's a unity that makes us brothers and sisters and friends of Jesus Christ. And so by virtue of our baptism, we too are called to live holy lives. We're called to discern that will of God for us and then to live it to the best of our ability.